Vying for gold is the hardest feat in the cadet's life because one misstep could mean getting turned back or worse, dismissal.
For graduating #1 in the military president's list of class 2014, the Presidential Saber is awarded to Cadet First Class George Miliena Leona. The award is presented by His Excellency Benigno S. Aquino III, President of the Republic of
To be #1 or to be the valedictorian is the most common goal one would like to have. Being on the top of a class means so much. It signifies an exemplary achievement on all aspects of cadetship. The pride and honor are deserved to be rendered. On the other hand, being in the bottom of the class is the last goal one would like to have. Rarely one would desire to graduate and be in the last to be called in the graduation rites, but not in the Philippine Military Academy. Besides being the #1 to graduate or valedictorian, cadets likewise aim to be the last ranking graduating cadet or GOAT. History depicts that being #1 or being the last one receive the same honor and respect during graduation rites. The fact is, the GOAT receives the most applause and has the privilege to make a moment in the center stage with the guest of honor. Technically, the GOAT is the person who comes in the last in his class. GOAT has also been used to refer to anyone who comes in towards the bottom of the class. The GOAT is the cadet who graduates last in the class. This tradition was carried over from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Though discontinued at West Point since 1978, every cadet at the graduation ceremony knows who the class GOAT is, and when his or her name is read in the alphabetical list, the crowd bursts into sustained cheers. Let us find out why is it that the last graduating cadet is called a GOAT. According to Dr. Steve Grove, the West Point historian, reputedly the term GOAT came into use in the 1880s. Prior to that, the lower standing members of the class were called the Immortals. Supposedly, one Spanish instructor who habitually taught the lower classes had a goatee. From his goatee, then the cadets he taught become known as the GOATs. Doesn't hurt that the Navy mascot is a GOAT also. In the 1909 howitzer, a GOAT is described as a man who would have stood first if he had moaned. By the 1970, the meaning was expressed as we do today. GOAT, a man in the lower sections, a man near the bottom of his class. According to Chuck Rittenberg, retired USMA 73, as the end of the 4 years neared, there was a jockeying among the last 4 or 5 in the class for the class GOAT position, and good-natured words among them accusing each other of purposely dropping tenths of an exam so they would end up the class GOAT. One tradition was that every member of the class contributed $1 to the class GOAT fund, which was presented at graduation. When the competition for the class GOAT really heated up first year, the GOAT candidates had it harder than the guys competing for the top of the class. The class leaders only had to study well enough to try to answer all the questions on every test, to the best of their abilities. The GOAT candidates, on the other hand, had to know the material even more perfectly, so they would know exactly how many questions to answer wrong and keep their average tangent, for example, not falling. A big risk candidates boldly accepted, but barely passing and still below their competitors. Someone who can succeed in this is someone who, if he had applied himself that much to his studies during all 4 years, could very well have been the number 1 in the class. There are various theories and perspectives about the history of the word GOAT. Finally, from the Bible, you have in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 25, in verses 31 to 33, "But when the Son of Man shall come into his majesty, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. And before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate from one another, as the shepherd separates the sheep from the goats, and he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left."
Paano ang class po?
Yun po yung pinaka-last po sa serial number. Bali po, yun po yung ranking po namin. Mula una hanggang last po. Ibig sabihin po, yung pinaka-last po, yun po yung last na pinaka-mababa po. Pero sa case ko po, dean's po ako. Kasi po, may mga regulations po dito na medyo hindi po namin sinasadya na ma-violate po. Tapos ibig sabihin po, may corresponding punishment. At isa po sa mga punishment na nakukuha po ng mga nababiolate po naming regulations, yung pagiging last po. Bali po yung... Opo, yun po. Actually, nag-excel po ako sa academics, pero yun po, full approach po kasi, wholesome approach po kasi ibig sabihin po, medyo naglaylo po ako sa kandang, kaya medyo ganun po yung nangyari sa akin.
Ano example?
Anong nagawa mo?
Ay, sa amin lang po yun eh.
Anong ilang
Po?
Anong na-feel mo? Dean's lister
Proud,
ka na
opo. Proud pa rin po ako kasi kahit po ganun po yung nangyari sa akin, yung pag-accept po ng consequences sa mga ginagawa, talagang nasa amin po talaga yun. Tapos, ang pinaka-importante naman po sa amin, yung graduate po talaga.
Sa graduation ng Philippine Military Academy, pinaparangalan ng mga valedictorian ng mga pinakamataas na nakuhang grado. Sa kanilang ginagawad ang Presidential Saber. Pero kakaibang atensyon din ang nilalaan sa pinakamababa na nakakakuha ng grado. Siya po'y pinakauli tinatawag at siya ang tinaguriang Class GOAT. Sa taong ito, ang Class GOAT ay si Cadet First Class Mark Solomon. Pero kahit siya ang pinakakulelat, binigyan siya ng Pangulong Duterte ng isang 45 kalibreng baril. Pero, kulelat man sa grado, Class GOAT man, kaya ring umasenso. At ang pinakamatagumpay sa kasaysayan, hindi lang naging Chief of Staff ng Armed Forces, naging senador din ng Republika. Siya po, si Rodolfo Biazon, ang Class GOAT ng PMA Class of 1961.
If you find our video interesting, please like and share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.